so if you listen to the last podcast, I'm going to be going through some things, but my mental health is in a nice spot right now. Before anything dramatic happens, I'm going to record this. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and watch the last podcast. Uh, listen to it. But today is more of a positive vibe, and we're going to go for some stuff since I'm in a healthy space right now. I'm gonna look up some topics and then we're gonna talk about that. But I'm gonna try and make it more entertaining. Try and make it less boring, less of a slog to get through my voice while I'm pausing and all that. I do try to edit the pauses out sometimes, but sometimes there's just way too many. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go look up something that way it's not off the top of my head. But I'm gonna talk about it off the top of my head. But I'm gonna choose something specific so we can stay on track. There's kids screaming, so I'm gonna let that go for a while. In any case, we're gonna talk about value. We'll go ahead and talk about the value of art, not necessarily business or anything, but it does have to do with transactions sometimes. I'm not gonna dive too deep into that, but maybe just the mentality of the value of art and how it affects you as an artist. So you might have noticed more and more if you're on art TikTok or the art community in some places, they talk about how their art is set to a certain price because it's well deserved. They put time into it, they put their heart into it, they put hours, a lot of love, techniques, anything that artists do, it's a craft, right? So asking them to lower the price cheapens that craft for them, or it feels like you're cheapening their craft. I know from personal experience that from family and friends, they might want free stuff from you just because they know that you can do that really difficult thing called art. And once they know someone that's talented, they could be like, oh, let me have it for free. Let me have it for $10. Even sometimes the $10 is kind of a fever dream because they don't value it as much as you do. For some reason, especially when it's family and friends. And then on top of that, there's this anxiety of not being good enough to produce art for people to pay or have it be good enough for people to pay. And the anxiety behind that's a whole different topic, whole different video or podcast. But we can talk about it a little bit here in this podcast. So there's two things for me to take away from that, which is one, the degree of which you're willing to put out art publicly and how it looks. So you're gonna have to draw that out or mold that out, whatever kind of artist you are. Make a EP or a demo of music, and then really question the quality of it for your own standards, not anyone else's. How does it sound to you? How does it look to you? How does it feel to you putting it out publicly? Would you buy this product from yourself? And that's kind of a trick question for some people like me, because no, I wouldn't buy something from myself because I always feel like I can improve. I feel like, oh no, just wait till I update it. Wait till it's, all the way done. Wait till like next year sometimes. So that's an insecurity of mine. That's an anxiety of mine, is that it will not be good enough for someone else's eye to pick it up like, oh, that's really cool, because my eye isn't doing that, my brain isn't doing that. So that's the first thing to take away. You can ignore all the stuff about me if you want, because that's totally fine. But the first thing to take away is, does it have value to you? And the way I determine that is, unfortunately, I have to scale it up to other people's art or products or even sales pitches, whatever I can find that is attractive to me. I compare it and I kind of see what should be happening. And that doesn't always mean that I'm happy with my product, but it means that I can see what my product is for what it is. Like if I finish a comic page, I know that, some people won't like it. I might like it, I might be happy with myself that I finished it, but I know that there's other places I can improve on. And that's where the comparing comes in. When you compare, you're saying, okay, I want my product to be as much like this product as possible. It's not copying per se, but you're trying to go for the same effect. It's like if McDonald's pitches, their new hamburger to you on a commercial, and then Taco Bell pitches their tacos. If you want tacos, you don't give a crap about the hamburger. So sometimes you just have to recognize that your product is not what other people want, and that there's an audience for your product, but you have to find them first. And that's where value comes in. People will value your stuff if that's what they're looking for. If they're not looking for that, they won't value it. So, say hamburgers are popular this month. For me, I feel like I'm the tacos. I'm not a big chain either. I'm like maybe a little taco stand that no one knows about. But I still have to sell stuff, right? I still have to get my product out to people that like what I'm serving. So, how do I find value in myself to give over that product and be happy of what I've got, what I can work with? So first, like I said, you look at yourself. So for what would I do? I would look at my ingredients. Basically, for an artist, that's skills, techniques, influences, like what other taco stands would have what I'm serving, and which ones do I like that I could put a spin on. That would be, maybe I can make even more delicious tacos from using someone else's part of their recipe, but not the full thing. Maybe just put some lime on there, and it changes the dish. Sorry about the food analogies. I might be hungry. But yeah, some tacos, they're not even going to have lettuce. They're not going to have cheese. They're not going to have tomato. They might just have some meat, some sour cream, and, maybe a certain type of cheese. But then other tacos, they have everything. Like you see in certain taco trucks, they have like lettuce, jalapeno, they got salsa, sour cream, cheese. They got like a loaded taco basically. But let's say you don't have enough product for that. You can't compare right now because you're busy selling the other product. So until you can get to that point, you have to sell an inferior product or a lesser product. That's not always the case in art, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to come to terms or be at peace that you're giving something out that's less than what you want to give out. Be at peace, but also move on and try to improve. Because the first step of value is recognizing what value you have. So, number two, we'll move on, I swear. I promise. But to wrap up, number one again, you need to know your value, what that looks like, and how you want to give that to people. The second thing that can agitate your anxiety, besides not knowing the worth of your art or your product or your music, is building up that confidence for approaching people or even just posting publicly for people to see. It's going to be out there, and you're going to feel like you're naked the first time you post something that you feel is really good, and people come by and, maybe they don't pay attention at all, and that's even worse for some people. For me, I'm just like, okay, maybe I didn't hashtag right or whatever. Maybe my stuff isn't that great. Maybe people are seeing it, but they're just not responding to it, which is bad for me because I know better now. My whole entire point, my goal is to get an emotional response from anyone coming by my page or my TikTok or whatever. So I need to work on that really hard, and I'm pretty much not great at opening up, and I got to work on that. Also, there's pretty simple tactics that companies or advertisers use all the time to pull on your heartstrings or your emotions, and they do it quite often to get you to buy stuff. So I'm not quite going that far, but I do use some of the psychology just to get stuff going on my TikTok, just to try and understand, like, okay, what would get a response in order for me to have friends on the internet, basically. And I keep using the word sell or sale or transaction or whatever. That's just a bunch of lingo I learned. I'm not necessarily selling anything. So blame blame YouTube and the courses I took. I'm not using that language on purpose, really. It's just to get the point across. There are better ways of explaining it. Gary V, he talks about what is it called? Jab, 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 then punch. And I forgot the exact phrase, but basically it's like give to your audience, and then ask for something in return, which I think is a positive outlook. I'm not really looking to ask for anything in return. Honestly, the likes and the follows are enough for me. The one thing I do want people to get excited for is my comic, though. So that's one thing I can't get an emotional response from people on because that's my emotions. I'm emotional about that. I can't get someone else to be happy or excited for it just because it's my comic or my product. I could influence that emotion, but that's pretty dang hard. But yeah, and that's the other thing. You have to have enough product to convince people that this is something worth looking into. So, if you just have a little bit done like I do, it's not going to work. Trust me, I know. I've been at this for like a long time. You don't even want to know how long. And most of those years, okay, years were me just trying to get the product together, trying to get the look together, trying to understand what I even like. And yeah, it'd be like that sometimes. But yeah, if someone's telling you, "Oh, don't compare yourself to others. Oh, it's not good to compare. You're not going to grow that way. You're just going to get jealous." Maybe it's true for your level of skill, but if you're working hard and you're just not seeing improvement and you feel like people aren't coming over to see what you're all about, then I would say ignore that advice and start comparing and learn the truth, because everyone knows as soon as you learn the truth about, which artist is better than you and which artist is mediocre, you're going to start to get depressed because you see the other artists growing and whatever. This is typical of artists where we see someone's art is just so great. We just put our pencil down, we go have a coffee, we go have a drink, we go eat something, we go to sleep, right? Because it's like, what's even the point? Why even try now? This guy's making all the money from art now because there's no one else in the world that can make art, right? We feel like our art isn't needed. But yeah, that's just insecurity. But I'm telling you, if you can stomach it, do it. Go compare right now, your drawing to one of your inspirations and see how far you need to go, and then compare something that looks like your drawing and see if yours is better or worse, and see if your techniques are improving or if you've gotten better, because that's the only way you're going to understand the knowledge it takes to improve. And I'm all about improving and increasing value and giving yourself that opportunity. I still suck at drawing now, but I'm not that good, but I feel like I've improved so much more than what I used to be. And I put my art out there like that on purpose now, and I even update my comic on the webtoon app. I put it out sloppy, I update and edit it, and I make sure people know that I know how to do art, but I leave it naked. I leave it there for people to understand that I'm not that great, and I draw fast, but just I'm not to the level of some other people who can create comics or can draw masterpieces. I believe in myself. I believe I will get there, and I believe I'll make this beautiful piece one day that maybe a lot of people will enjoy. Again, not everyone. You have to know your audience. And I've shrunken down my audience down to some of the gaming community and some anime. That's my goal. That's my entire That's the entire point. The goal, you know. Sorry if I said that twice. Is this side B? For some reason, my app stopped and wouldn't let me record more on the same file. But yeah, I tried to narrow it down to weeb content, gaming content, and that's all I'm trying to serve. And even taco stands have tacos and burritos, so they're still got tortillas, they still got different fillings and stuff. But games and comics are different mediums. One's more video; it's in the name, video game. The other one's comic and comic. Sorry, I said that so weird. And they're colored, they're vibrant sometimes, and they have color palettes. That's about the only similarity between the two, besides storytelling. The cinematics, the angles, the camera angles, those are kind of similar, depending on what artist you're talking about. And I kind of made this whole thing about getting over the anxiety of your work, but I guess I had a lot more to say than I thought. So, what do you do though if you're lacking confidence in any of those areas like skills, techniques, advertisement, product placement, emotions, emotional reactions, like how do you get that out of people? What would you do if you had to choose something and then practice it? So, the first thing you got to look at is, all right, what's necessary to practice right now? What's more productive? How can I get more out of this thing that I'm not good at? So, for example, we'll switch to something maybe a coder might identify with, a programmer. And I'll switch it to a more simple analogy, but we're going to go over this first and see if we can start understanding how you practice determines your value. Musashi, a 16th century samurai, 15th century, I think it was after 15th century, but he wrote the Book of Five Rings, and one of his quotes is, "You will fight how you practice." So what he means by that is, if you're practicing sloppy, if you're not focusing on problems in combat or sparring, if you don't understand your enemy, that's how you're going to fight in a real fight, and you're going to be dead. This is not your enemy per se, but it's an opponent. It's something you have to tackle, something you have to become good at. So if I'm bad at marketing, I have to practice marketing the right way, with the right people, in the right circumstance, the right environment. TikTok recently has been an okay place for me to do that. I just kind of suck at it, so I'm still trying to improve there. He was actually, from what I can tell, a masterless samurai, which means he was a ronin. So that's pretty much all I know about Musashi, besides all the things I read from the Book of Five Rings. But those were the most important things that stood out to me, and basically to keep practicing your craft every day to get better. So, like if sometimes something isn't working for you, like you can't draw a nose or your eyes are off center, blindside that problem with a solution that is unconventional. Like when I was having trouble with making eyes even, someone told me to put two lines across the face, and that would sorry, and that would measure out evenly each eye, and I wouldn't have to worry about making them even ever again, and it works. So blindside your opponent or whatever you're trying to tackle with a solution that works for you, and basically knock that bitch out, to put it in the most friendly way I can.